Hello there. I'm speaking to you from your future. It's the year 2050, and I'm a technology historian. Today, we're going to crack open a kind of digital time capsule, a really fascinating look at what you, back in the early 2020s, thought my world would look like. So let's dive in and see how those big tech dreams actually stacked up against reality.
And here we go. You can just feel the optimism, can't you? The people of your time, they pictured this future of just limitless potential, a world saved by technology. And, they weren't entirely wrong. But man, they could never have predicted all the twists and turns that progress would actually take.
So to really get a handle on it, we're going to look at three huge areas that shaped my world. First, this really intimate merger of humans and machines. Then, how AI completely rewrote the rules of our society. And finally, the, let's say, unexpected side effects of a life designed for total convenience.
Okay, first up. This was probably the most ambitious dream of them all. The idea that we could use technology to break past the fundamental limits of being human.
This quote, wow, this pretty much captures the ultimate fantasy, right? It wasn't just about curing diseases anymore. This was about achieving digital immortality. The core belief was that your consciousness, your very self, was just data that you could back up. That was the absolute peak of 2020's optimism.
But this is where that beautiful, universal dream slammed right into the wall of economic reality. See, the technology, it actually arrived, but it wasn't for everybody. What was supposed to be humanity's great leap forward, well, it became a luxury good, and it created this huge new chasm in society we now call the consciousness divide.
I mean, the early uses for brain-computer interfaces were straight-up miracles, curing diseases that were once a death sentence. But just as the records predicted, that tech was incredibly expensive at first. So the idea of preserving the best minds, that actually happened. It created what we call legacy AIs, basically digital ghosts of brilliant people running on servers. And that, as you can imagine, kicked off decades of fierce debate about the rights of these digital beings. For the average person, hey, we didn't need calculators anymore, which was cool. But the basic weaknesses of being human, yeah, those stuck around.
So, moving beyond just our own bodies and minds, let's look at the big picture. People in the 2020s knew. They knew that AI was going to change everything, from your 9-to-5 job to the energy that powered the planet.
50%. This number haunted them. It was a prediction, right there in the historical files, that AI and robots would make half of all jobs extinct. That figure created so much anxiety, this deep fear that humanity was about to become obsolete. And, in a way, they were right.
But what actually happened wasn't the end of work. It was this radical, massive shift. Today, a huge chunk of our jobs are in what we call AI oversight, basically managing the systems that did all the old work. And as you can see, the creative fields and jobs based on empathy, they just exploded. Why? Because those were the human things the machines just couldn't copy. The old jobs didn't just die, they morphed into something new.
Now, a big driver for this whole transformation was a revolution in education. The dream was beautiful. Free global learning for everyone, right on your screen. The reality was, well, it was optimized. AI tutors, just like they predicted, could design the perfect lesson plan for every single student. But it also meant that learning became algorithmic. Sometimes it would nudge students toward careers that were just more economically useful. And let me tell you, you definitely couldn't charm an AI into giving you an extension on a paper.
And holding all of this up was the great energy transition. Back in the 2020s, you guys really felt the urgency, and you were on the right track. Early projects like Blue Rise, which pulled energy from the ocean's temperature differences, were just getting started. It took another 20 years of massive effort, but by 2045, that hope became our reality. The age of carbon was finally, officially over.
Okay, so this brings us to our last big topic. How did all this stuff actually feel day to day? How did it change real life? Because the dream of the 2020s was a life with absolutely no friction.
This quote here, which was just a kind of casual observation about the early metaverse, it turned out to be one of the most prophetic things anyone said back then. It just perfectly nailed the central paradox of life in my world.
And it happened slowly, First, our houses started ordering our groceries for us. Then, ambient AI started to anticipate what we wanted without us even saying anything. The metaverse made it so you could see the world without ever leaving your house. And finally, with BCIs, we could control everything with just a thought. Every little annoyance of daily life was just smoothed away.
And that brings us to the one question they didn't really ask themselves enough. This perfect, seamless convenience, it came with a price you couldn't measure in dollars. When you remove the need to interact with the world around you, what else goes away with it?
We lost the small stuff, the little things, that random chat you'd have with a cashier, asking a neighbor if you could borrow something. You know, all those tiny, unplanned moments that actually build a community. When you can travel anywhere virtually and 3D print anything you want at home, your physical neighborhood starts to matter a lot less. We got a world of absolute convenience, and in the trade, we gave up a little piece of our connection to each other.
So, when I look back at all these predictions from your time, I think the biggest lesson is this one. Progress is never that simple, straight line going up and to the right that everyone imagined. It's messy, it's full of contradictions, and it is always packed with unintended consequences.
Which, of course, brings us to today, my today. Now that we have this world of automated ease, our new great challenge, the dream that my world is chasing, is figuring out how to rebuild all the human connections we accidentally designed away. I can only imagine what a historian in 2080 will say about how we did. Thanks for taking this trip back to the future with me.